Confucianism is an ancient religion that was started by Confucius and expanded by his following disciples around 500 BCE. Confucianism possesses an extremely significant impact on the current world's philosophy, politics, and economics. Understanding Confucianism is an essentially a step to understand Chinese culture because the religion is an inseparable part of the culture. Before introducing Confucianism, it is essential to learn about Confucius' life to understand Confucianism. It is believed that Confucius was born in 551 BC in the kingdom of Lu, where he inherits the idea and philosophy from the previous Zhou dynasty. In Confucius' coming of age, he witnessed constant warfare and instability because of people's moral degeneration from the loss of rituals. Confucius then decides to travel around the country, trying to preach his philosophy, but no rulers adopted. In the last few years of Confucius' life, he came back to the kingdom of Lu and started a school, teaching his ideas. At about 400 BC, Confucius' teaching is collected by his disciples and written into the Analect, which composes the fundamental text of Confucianism known as the Four Books and the Five Classics. Analect is a collection of Confucius' words that reviews his characters and ideas. The book provides a basic framework of an ideal human being in society, but continuously emphasizing the fundamental themes like filial piety, the concept of heaven, and correct rituals of propriety. The Book of Analect had continuously influenced Chinese culture and education for almost 2,000 years, where a man who doesn't learn the Analect are considered uneducated. Furthermore, the imperial examination, the fundamental aspect of Chinese education, centers entirely on the thorough knowledge of the Analects to cope with the current world issues. The second book of the four books are the Great Learning. Great Learning covers the philosophy of to study, ethics, and moral standards all at the same time, and emphasizes the idea of self-cultivation. Then follows the Doctrine of Meaning, which is the third book of the four books. The Doctrine of Meaning provides the guideline of how to live correctly in the world. The book is considered to be the best interpretation of Confucius' moral standard. The last of four books are called Mencius. Mencius is a collection of words of the sage Mencius. It introduces some important Confucius ideas like doctrine of self-cultivation, the policy of benevolence, and most importantly, the concept of human nature is born good. Mandate of Heaven is an extremely significant figure in Confucianism, but before going more in depth on its influence, it is better to provide some more context. The mandate of heaven is not a concept that is invented by Confucius. Instead, the term heaven is believed to be created by early rulers of the Zhou dynasty to justify their right to rule over people after their conquest over the Shang dynasty. Heaven is considered as an impersonal but all-powerful presence that dominated the cosmos. According to H. G. Creel, he claims that Confucius looked upon heaven, however, as the author of his power, which he had entrusted him with a sacred mission as the champion of China's culture. Confucius' belief in heaven influenced all Confucians to believe that following the mandate of heaven is the most crucial mission. Peace and stability will only be achieved if the mandate of heaven is followed. Another core philosophy of Confucianism is the five virtues. The five virtues are essentially the basis of correct moral standards, and it also covers the concept of self-cultivation, which is the cornerstone for filial piety. Because the five virtues guide people on how to establish proper relationship in a society so that harmony can be achieved. The five virtues include the following. In a society so that harmony can be achieved. The five virtues include the following. The first of them is called Ren, meaning to treat others with kindness, and this virtue is considered by Confucius himself as the highest standard of individual needs to follow in order to achieve harmony with heaven. The literal meaning of the word means two people, which indicates mutual relationship develops between two groups like father-son or rulers and subjects. The essential element of the five virtues focuses entirely on social harmony. The second character is E. This character means justice among the world, and it serves the rule to remind a true virtue an individual should possess is the justice and balance among people, because justice is exceptionally significant to maintain harmony and balance. The third character is Li. This character means the order of ritual. It also merely translates in the right way. People need to serve the rule correctly in society so that harmony can be achieved. The fourth character is Zhi. This character means to be intelligent. It is often mentioned by Confucius as necessary to be intelligent in order to understand the world and follow the rules correctly so that ultimate goal of peace and stability is. One of the most fundamental elements of Confucianism is its revolutionary contribution to the Chinese social structure. Generally speaking, Confucianism emphasizes a strengthened social hierarchy that focuses on the submission of one group to another, and this hierarchy is established through different mutual relationships in five main categories. It includes, first, ruler and their subjects, husband and wife, parents and their kids, older brothers to younger brothers, and lastly, friends to friends. It is through the submission of social hierarchy that social stability is reached. One of the examples of the social hierarchy is Confucius' emphasis on the sequential submission of one class over another, that the stability in the world is reached. One of the most fundamental elements of Confucianism is its revolutionary contribution to the Chinese social structure. Generally speaking, Confucianism emphasizes a strengthened social hierarchy that focuses on the submission of one group to another. This hierarchy is established through different mutual relationships in five main categories. It includes rulers and their subjects, husband and wife, parents and kid, older brothers to younger brothers, friends to friends. It is through the submission of social hierarchy that social stability is reached. One of the examples of social hierarchy is Confucius' emphasis on the sequential submission of one class over another, that stability in the world is reached. From the ancient time, when there are people trying to spread virtues to the world, they all emphasizes that if one wants to achieve stability in the world, they have to be able to manage their own country. If they want to manage their own country, they have to manage their own family. If they want to manage their own family, they have to self-cultivate themselves first. This quote reviews Confucius' idea of peace and stability, and it emphasizes on the order of achieving harmony with first the self-cultivation, then comes to family relationship, later to the submission of subjects to the rulers, and finally lead us to the universal harmony and peace. Generally speaking, the most fundamental aspect of the ethical dimension is to recognize and embrace one's position as an individual, at the same time performing his or her duty to maintain the order of the harmony of life. An example is the literal definition of sentence above means that sons or daughters shall stay with their parents when they are alive, and their only permission to leave is under a reasonable circumstance. This quote justifies Confucius' view on the strict value of filial piety.
The material and symbolic dimension. Within this dimension, I will be talking about where sacrifices occur, temples, schools, and the intellects. Khufu Confucian Temple. Khufu Confucian Temple is one of the actual remnants from the ages of Confucius. It is believed to be built by Confucius' first generation of disciples, with his relics like cloths and instruments being displayed in some of the rooms. This building is built by... The next dimension I will be talking about is the experiential and emotional dimension. Within this dimension, I will be talking about the ultimate goal of life. The ultimate goal for each individual in this life is called junsi. Junsi means to live a good life through behaving in accordance with ancient sages who perform good morals. However, it only serves as one part of the concept of universal harmony. Heaven is known as a place where people go after death, but heaven is a cosmic concept similar to Atman, where more clearly defined as natural order. This exists everywhere as ultimate transcendent reality, but without any subjective thoughts or action. The next dimension I will be talking about is the ritual dimension. Within this dimension, I will be talking about the sacrificial rituals. There are three kinds of sacrifice that are known within Confucianism: the sacrifice to heaven, to ancestors, and lastly to sages. Rituals are not limited to sacrifices or worship alone. Rituals are the requirements of people behaving well in everyday life, because people should always act on ethical conduct with good virtues. Confucius himself advocates for some of the ceremonies like sacrifices and worships. A vast majority of the ceremonies originate from previous dynasties like Shang or Zhe. Reasonable speculation for this is because Confucius believes that the previous dynasty can maintain peace and stability through regulating rituals and ceremony. The above text is an example of how Confucius argues that the sages will be blessed by heaven because of their perfect virtues. In this quote, God is described to be an objective deity that rewards those with good virtues, and the rewarding statement explains Confucius's deep religious belief in the so-called heaven.